Welcome back to this episode of Paint Society. You might remember this actual Honda Civic Type R we painted about 3.5 years ago on the channel. We actually did a fender replacement on the driver's side and a bumper replacement, and we took you through the whole process of how we did it. We'll fast forward to this episode and it's back for a little bit of a repair. It's getting the front bumper resprayed, a brand new bumper. It hit some debris, and it had a little bit of chips and debris on the passenger side fender. And since the damage was so close to that passenger side door, we're gonna go ahead and blend that door so we have a perfect color match as well. And we can actually see here that our color and our clear came out great and has lasted very well. That's what happens when you put a high quality product on a vehicle. In the Florida sun, you can expect it to still look good years later. So that's why you don't want to cheap out on some of those clears. You won't have the same life expectancy that we see on this actual vehicle. And while Juan gets this all masked up, we'll talk to you a little bit about the process of this vehicle. You can see we have a little bit of a repair here, some damage from the accident, and it's too close to the door just to do the fender. We want these two to match. So we're gonna be taking color into the door as well. And we had just a little bit of a chip we're fixing, so that's why we're gonna take a color a little bit further into this door. And since we're not in a fancy downdraft, we're gonna be taking some tape and masking to the back side of the tire. And what this does is it actually gives you the look of a downdraft, the feel of a downdraft, where the plastic is sucked around the vehicle. And what that will help do is just to keep overspray off the car, and more than anything, it keeps the plastic tight rather than flopping all over the place. So you take just a little piece of tape and you can wrap it around the back side of the tire, and that will definitely help out when it comes to keeping that plastic tighter than usual. Now, one thing that we always have an issue with, or I have an issue with, is no matter what, all the greatest masking in the world, we're still getting some overspray coming up through here. Don't know where it comes from, so what we do is just take a little bit of plastic or paper and cover that first so it has double protection, and we usually are fine. Let's go ahead and get this all cut out on our perimeter so we can start the cleaning process and then the painting process. All right, I'll do the cutting and you'll do the taping. So just make sure that when you're doing this, you're not digging in. I always like to keep it up a little bit, and as cheap as razors are, use a fresh one almost every time, because if not, that razor will get jagged with the plastic and just rip it instead of slicing it. Now, you don't stop until you're done, okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, over at the Candyman shop, all they do is put me to work, all right? But I'm in charge now.
Sir, can I go to the bathroom?
When you're done.
Okay.
You hold it for now, okay?
Yes.
Car get painted, then you get to go to the bathroom.
Okay.
Now, on this little guy, it's too close to put a little bit of paint on. Really, though, I would probably only had paint in this area, but while we're here, let's go ahead and take care of it. This is just some water-based cleaner, and this is just a little bit of spot filler. And I'm using K800 here, and this is such a tiny chip that honestly, this stuff is really good for it. And you don't have to worry, and that's nice and smooth, and we won't have any problems with that. Once we put color over it, you don't have to prime it, especially since we're using the 800 grit. And that's all there is to it. If there was a lot more in this area, then we could prime it, but again, it really is just a blend. But I like all my work to look good when it leaves, and a few extra minutes of work goes a long way. We're gonna go ahead and get this all wiped down. I'm using the microfiber and an awesome cool little pump sprayer. This is the Colad pump sprayer, Paint Society logo. These are available in the description. The reason why I like using these microfiber towels is because they absorb and they don't really leave too many streaks. So you really wanna get this wet, and this is gonna remove any of those issues that you might have with contamination as far as fingerprints or industrial fallout, things that just happen, you know, going down the road. Some things can settle onto the panel and cause contamination. This will help eliminate that. So we're gonna go ahead the best we can in one direction to wipe off the contaminants. And believe it or not, things just like this really help the process. Get yourself down into a process so each and every time you do it the same, you're gonna have the best possible results each and every time. Now, I'm gonna wipe that primer spot last, just in case there's any residue that comes off of it. sometimes that primer residue, even though we're painting here, can transfer to the end of the blend over here at the edge of the door, and you go to clear it and you see like a haze, like a gray haze. So that's a good way to just do your process of cleaning, of just doing that last. Granted, this has been washed down already previous, like to wash all the vehicles as much as we can with soap and water and scuff stuff, and that really helps out. You see there's really no dust or dirt on this rag at all. It's because it's been washed off prior, and that's a good process. There's a lot of things that you can do on your own as a do-it-yourselfer to really eliminate issues. There's some things that are going to be out of your control, things falling into the paint, but there's a lot of things that you can control. Control the things you can. Things that you can control is definitely going to be cleaning. All right, now that we got that all done, I'll go ahead and use a wax and grease remover. This is the wax and grease remover, and the wax and grease remover is going to remove like grease or any sort of wax that might still be on the vehicle, types of things that the actual water base will not remove. And what you want to do with this stuff is get it wet. So what this will do is bring all the contaminants up to the surface so you can go ahead and wipe them down. Now this will dry a little bit quicker than that water base. So I like to work a small area at a time because you don't want to let this stuff actually dry on the panel, because believe it or not, that can cause contamination if you have like a film build of any sort of cleaner that just sits on the panel. Now one thing they do tell you to do is to get this all completely wiped off and don't let it dry on the panel. Simple things like this while watching the channel that you can learn and really apply right away, and you don't need to be a professional painter to wipe a car down. And again, I'm gonna follow the same exact process here, and I'm only going to wipe down the area here first and then the primer. Here first, and that's it. And then we'll wipe her down, and she is ready for paint, just like that. Now, one thing you can use is the particle control. It's mixed 1-to-1. It's by Like 90, and I have it in this Milwaukee sprayer. This is the same type of sprayer I use on weeds or different things like that. Now, I use it in the booth before I spray. It helps keep the particles of dust down, and this is something you could do at home. It's very simple, and this is all you gotta do. I'm just gonna keep it low, and you could actually do this before, and I like to spray it around the car. So I'll spray it everywhere. You see how easy it is, and you don't even need to take it off. And that's all there is to it. So the next step, we're ready to spray. Now, you need this fancy Ion Star static gun. If you are a professional, it's gonna help you every single day. If you are a do-it-yourselfer, do not spend the money on this. I tell a lot of guys that message me, hey, make sure you're getting clean jobs to begin with before this, because this is not gonna come through and save you. It's not going to save you. This is gonna help you with a few extra maybe pesky dust nibs if you're a production painter. But if you don't have clean methods and clean practices, this is not a savior. Do not spend the money to save you, okay? This is just gonna help you in the process. It's another tool to help you. And the way that you're gonna use it is, first, you would use your tack cloth, and you're just gonna tack off. Now this has already been cleaned and wiped and all that stuff, all that fancy stuff. And once you go ahead and do this, then you can use your static gun, and your static gun is what's gonna help just reduce the static of the vehicle so nothing attracts to it. And once it's green, we're good to go, and that's all it really takes. Okay? And we're ready to spray. We've got our bumper already sealed. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take the same exact sealer, and since I've got a couple tiny chips that I kinda put a little bit of filler in, and I got a tiny burn through here, I'm barely gonna put any sealer on here. This is sanded with a 400 grit only in this area, so we have some adhesion for a sealer, but I'm not gonna take the sealer all the way because I'm trying to keep the paint away from the hood. Here, it's just the headlight, so I don't have to worry too much, and it's matching up to that bumper. So just a very little, we're barely gonna put it on. You can see I'm barely triggering it, okay? Barely triggering it. Now the next thing you're gonna wonder is about that edge right there. Well, we're gonna put a little bit of what we call melter or SRA in our system. And that's all it is right here. Make sure that you use the red cap. I learned this from one of my subscribers, that the fan is much bigger on the red cap if you're using the can. And that's all you're gonna do, guys. You leave it out like that, that's all you're gonna do. We're now ready for the base coat. Let this dry about a good 10 minutes. We're gonna put the actual, we're gonna put blending additive on it first, and I'm gonna tell you why. So what we're gonna be using is blending additive. This comes in every brand now. For this particular setup for Sikkens, it's just right out of the can, and if you don't use it, you can keep it in a cup, it won't dry. We don't need a whole lot. It does not get reduced 1-to-1, it's just right out of the can, and basically that's all there is to it. I'm gonna be spraying it on the door and the fender, and I'm using it more as a visual aid. I'm not using it as a wet bed. I like to spray it on the door and the fender because it gives me the same sheen as the base coat, and I can see how the base coat is laying and blending. It also covers up micro fine scratches. I wouldn't really depend on it for that, to be honest with you, but it does do that. So we're gonna go ahead and apply it here. It's been 10 minutes, and we're good to go. And we have it in our DV1, around 15 PSI, and we're just gonna spray it on, very simply, just like base coat. That's all it is. Base coat without any color. That's all it is. And it's a visual aid for me to see how my color looks when I go to spray it. You can see it gives it that same sheen. So right over the primer, and a little bit over into the sealer. That's all there is, guys. Now we're gonna be using our base coat and start to blend. And one thing I tend to do is make a spray out as I'm spraying. I've already verified the color, but I like to paint and use the same sealer and the base so I can see, hey, I can come over here later and see it's got enough coats, it looks good, it's gonna match the other side of the bumper, it's gonna match the hood, because this will butt up to the hood. We're not only matching the fenders, but on most newer cars, we're matching the hood as well. And those colors can look a little bit different, whether they're on the sides or the top. So we wanna make sure everything matches well. We're gonna go ahead and load up our base coat and start spraying it down. It's been 10 minutes. We're gonna try to get the first coat down to get decent coverage, and then we'll finish it up, and let's say another coat should be good. This blue does take a while to cover, but let's take a look and see what it can do. We're gonna go over only the sealer. I'm barely triggering it, see? Barely coming out. We don't need to soak it on there because we don't want it to run or anything like that. And you can see it actually covered pretty well, to be honest. And here we're angling it. We're keeping away from this yellow tape. We want our color here to match. It's gonna be very difficult, to be honest with you, to do this type of blend, but we can try our best to keep it below by angling that color down, okay? It's not coming out dry because we're so close to the panel. I mean, we're only about 1.5 inches away from the panel. So we're getting it for the most part covered up. And then we can continue it. And then I'm not gonna start the blend yet here, but I am gonna do a little bit of color right in this little touched up chip. Okay? So it can get covered. So the next step I can do is take my color over the whole entire thing, and hopefully it'll be enough coverage here, but man, that's looking pretty good so far. We'll hit up our spray out card, and we're making sure that whatever we do on the car, it's the same exact thing on the spray out card. And I just knocked down the second coat of base, and it's looking like it's got full coverage, but I won't know yet because I want to compare this once it flashes off to the rest of the vehicle, and that will be the sign that it's ready. So we still have that first coat here. Phenomenal coverage in this system, actually. You can see how we've done a really good job of just keeping it low, controlled spray. On our second coat here, we're gonna finish it up. We're gonna do the blend. I'm gonna do something that I do in a lot of videos. I'm gonna put down the second coat, and then I'm gonna take the blending additive from before, mix in some blue, and then kind of fade it out here. This is a metallic, so that will generally help it. The one thing that you're gonna wanna do each and every coat is you're gonna wanna use the static gun. Again, production painter, doing a lot of cars, it's gonna help you out. Even around the plastic, that's gonna take some of the static. You can see how well the tape job just holds down when you tape it to the wheels, underneath the wheels. I see a lot of guys not doing that. That's gonna help you out. 2 pieces of tape on each side of the wheel. It's gonna help keep that plastic nice and tight. So we're gonna get our coverage here on the fender, and there's no blending really techniques. The blending technique will come on the door, and it's not really gonna be too hard, to be honest. Right now, if you were to clear that, you have a big spot right in the middle because we got coverage over there. So you don't wanna leave that. But for here, we're just gonna, again, lightly trigger it, control the trigger as best as possible. And then we're gonna stay down, getting good coverage, tilt it down. Over here, we're gonna cover the whole entire fender because we're putting color into the door. And then over here, we're just gonna do our blend. And I'm gonna keep it at a 45. And then I also learned watching some other YouTube videos, Ollie Paints, to bring it up a little bit. I watched that, so that kind of helps me. Kind of pull away method. I tried that out. So basically you come here and then you pull it away. I thought that was kind of cool. So there's that method you could try. And then, of course, you can go crisscross applesauce, and that will also help. And that's all it takes. You don't need to keep on putting paint. What I'm gonna do is just add one more translucent layer, and that's it. Because this got coverage anyways. It's just a blend panel. You can see it looks really good. But let's put on a translucent color, and I'll show you how to do that right now. So basically, I actually had a little bit left, and that's all I really need. This is like just about 1 ounce. And I'll do about 1 to 1. So we have about 2 ounces there. Not exact science, and maybe just throw in a little bit more reducer to help that fizzle out at the blend area. This is the only reason why we're doing it. And I kind of like to get into this pretty much right after the second coat. And basically what we have now is a color that has a weakened strength. So it's not gonna be as aggressive on the edge here. So when I come here, I'm not even gonna blend over here because it doesn't matter. When I come here, basically the solvent or the paint is reduced in color and strength. So that's gonna help it blend out way better. And that's all there is to it, guys. We'll leave this alone. I'm happy with that. Let's double check our color on the fender and we'll see how she looks. And to check our color, we'll use this Like 90 quick check, and it just simulates clear and it stays a lot shinier longer than solvent will. Spray some on here, so that simulates gloss. And I'm looking at this for the first time with you guys, so we'll get to see if it matches or not. It actually looks pretty dang good. Pretty dang good, but maybe it could use a touch of black. I don't know, I'm a little bit weird. Let's put a touch of black in it. So the color we used is green, and believe it or not, when I did the video, I even said this, I could use a touch of black. So I'm gonna find the black that we used is 140 deep black. So we're gonna come over here to the mix, and the way I like to do it so I don't overdo it is I'm gonna put a touch of black on here. And I'll be damned, because if I didn't do it and if it's too light, I'm gonna feel bad. But at least if I do it and it doesn't come out perfect, or if it's just a little bit light, at least I know I tried. I think it's super close. I think that's all it's gonna need. A lot of this is gonna absorb into the stick, and I put it on the stick first. And the reason why is I don't wanna over pour it, so at least I can control it on the stick first. I'm gonna go ahead and put it on the spray out, make sure that it darken it just a touch. Then if I like it, I'll just put it on the edges of the bumper and the top there where it meets the hood. And that's all you really need to do. Now you can see here, after about 5 minutes, it evaporated completely, that simulated gloss. So we'll go ahead. We'll let this dry for a moment, and then we'll put the simulated gloss on again, and we'll check it out. Yeah, so just again, I like to curve these spray out cards, and look at that. I like that match. I think that match looks pretty good. So now what we're gonna do, since we have that, we're gonna put a little bit here. This is the fender we can control, and then we'll have enough for the bumper. We'll put one light coat on the bumper. I didn't mention is that the colors in here will look a little bit better than outside, because when the sun comes on from outside, it's going to shine through a light color. It's going to appear lighter. So what you can do for that is get yourself the Astro light. This is an inexpensive one. I like the Milwaukee one, but too expensive. And this does the same thing. So this is after the fact. I'll just show you that this is what it's going to look like in the sun. And for a match, that's a pretty good match. You can see here with the sun, it actually looks almost, it could be a little bit lighter, almost looks, depending on how it looks. But that's a good enough match. You won't find any better than that. So at this point, we're ready to clear it. We'll allow this to drive good 15, 20 minutes, and then we'll put some clear coat on it. We'll give it 20 minutes. I'm going to be using my tack rag first. What will happen at the edge of your blend on a metallic is you'll have a lot of stray metallics. So this is where that really helps out. Now, you wouldn't be able to see them until the lights are off and the sunlight gun was on it, but I know they're there. That's why I like to give everything a white. Now, this is relatively smooth. That's how it should be. Your base coat should be smooth, because if it's not, then what's going to happen is your clear coat's going to follow, and it's going to be rough if it's not smooth. So that's good to go. A little bit more overspray than I wanted. It could be a little bit cleaner than that, but that's what the tack rag is here for. Now on the bumper, we don't need to really tack it off because we did from edge to edge. So there's really not going to be any base coat that's going to be sitting there dusty because we overlapped everything. But I'm just going to go over it in case there's any lint or anything like that. We're going to make sure that we have a nice clean surface. Now whenever you're using that static gun, you make sure you do this first, and then you're going to use that fancy static gun, because that's going to, again, in between every step, reduce the amount of static on the panel. We can see how nice that plastic looks, nice and tight. I think on this job we can get little to no dirt in this whole entire job. We're going to be using the WS400 Series 2. I'm always using this gun to clear. This is a digital version. We're going to spray it at 26 PSI. I'm going to lay it down a little bit medium wet, and then the second coat will be a little wetter. Again, it's not supposed to be a glass. It's supposed to match the factory finish, which is a little bit of factory finish texture. I'm going to show you how to do that. All right, get low. And so that's it. So I go a little bit faster on the door because it's mostly clear on clear, and that's when it can run down. And I'll go a little bit slower on the fender because it can hold the clear a little bit more because it's got the base. But take a look at it. Probably not the best finish right off the bat. It actually looks pretty good, but if you have something that's not perfect, try to get it in the second coat and don't try to get it in the first. Like I got a little dry at the bottom here. I can see it because of the angle, but I'm gonna let that tack up before I have runs coming down here. And that's the difference between a professional and someone that's just new to this, they want to get everything looking good right away, wait for the second coat. All right, now for our second coat, we can lay it on a little bit wetter and slower. And that's just it, guys. Here after 20 minutes, this thing looks so nice, so nice. The blend looks great. This is Sitkins PC. If you're spraying Sitkins PC, this stuff is so sweet. I love this. I love this clear. Lays out really nice. It'll flow out just a little bit. You got a nice finish here. This is a very similar, I mean, dead-on factory finish, in all honesty. The color looks good. We'll let this sit in the booth, dry up, and then we'll see what she looks like, and we'll get a better idea if we did a good job on this color match. And this is what she looks like, guys, after it's all done, ready to go get cleaned up. You can see here the match is really good. Pretty much a factory match. Match here, once again, is really nice. And then, of course, our work that we did over here, obviously really good, really solid work. Really proud of how it came out all the way through the door, the fender, the matched over into the hood. Just really good color match. So taking a little bit extra time to get it right really goes a long way. So thank you for coming along with me. And guys, remember, this is Brian from Paint Society reminding you, don't overthink it. It's just paint. I'll see you guys on the next episode.